Hey guys, it's me, Dish. We're back with another episode of Dish and Light Unfiltered. By the time this episode comes out, it's going to be the end of Lent. We will be coming up on Easter. So I wanted to kind of give my testimony because this time of year last year looked a lot different for me. I was in a wheelchair and I didn't know if I would walk again. So we're going to kind of like walk through that and see what that was like. My notes are on here, so if you see me looking at this, that's what that's for. Last year around this time, I didn't know if I'd walk again, and not like in a dramatic way. Didn't know. Things kind of were in a downward spiral very quickly. I went from looking super healthy to very frail, very sick, just somebody I didn't recognize. I was in a place where I didn't think that I was ever going to get better and that I would ever walk again. And last Lent season was my like make or break moment. I think that I was at the point where I really didn't think the doctors were going to be able to help me. And then everything kind of just like shifted. Something, I don't know how to describe it. Something just changed, right? And I think that it's not something that like I fully have. I mean, if you know me and you're close to me, I've talked about it, but I never have given the full story. So here it is. We're going to talk about it today. So, for today's episode, I want to walk you through kind of like what actually happened. My goodness, it was insane. It was crazy. There's literally no other word. Physically, spiritually, mentally, in every aspect took a toll on me that like it tested every single part of me. I have been through so many things in my life. We'll talk about them. We've talked about a little bit of things here and there already. Never in a million years did I think that this was something that I was going to go through. I guess we just kind of start at the beginning of 2020 and kind of where life was at. A little bit of background before 2024 on my life was in 2022. In the beginning, I had just got out of a domestic violence relationship, and I will say that I started drinking heavily. I just started going out, I didn't care. And in 2023, that summer, I was blessed with an opportunity to go work in a doctor's office as a medical assistant. Thank God every day for that opportunity because that's kind of what that is not kind of, it's what got me back on track. I got refocused, I got re-enrolled back in school. That was like the little bit of background that you needed because I think that there was issues as far as like healing that I didn't handle regarding the domestic violence. I just kind of drank, numb the pain. That's not the healthiest way to handle things, obviously. I didn't say it's something that I regret because it's gotten me to where I'm at today and it's a part of my story and it's who I am. So, although it's unfortunate it happened, it's a part of my story and I'm thankful for it. It's a lesson learned. But that's a little bit of the background needed, I think, for you to understand what happened to me. So by Thanksgiving of 2023, I had stopped drinking. It was becoming something I was dependent on, and I knew I needed to address some of the things that I hadn't healed from. Your girl needed to lose a little bit of weight because I wanted to look good for graduation. I wanted to feel confident on stage. I knew that I had worked hard and I wanted to feel like my best self on stage. Come January, I was in my last semester of school for prerequisites for the RN program. And I was a bit overwhelmed, to say the least. I anatomy, physiology, microbiology, statistics. Crazy, I know. I was commuting from where I live to over an hour away to the doctor's office for work Monday through Friday. Insane. I would come home, go to the gym for an hour, 5 days out of the week. Because by the time April of 24 came around, a month before graduation, I noticed there was something wrong. I had lost about 15 to 20 pounds over a span of 4 months in a healthy way working out, and that was fine. From March to April of 24, I lost another 15 pounds on top of that, like that. And that's when I knew something was wrong. Just like weight dropping way too fast. I just started noticing that I was like over. I would stand up, I would get super hot, my heart would like start pounding super fast. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I think I've never experienced anything like this in my life. It was insane. I'm not getting a lot of sleep because I'm staying up super late to study. I just kind of ignored it for a little bit. As we got into the middle of April, things really started progressing where getting like migraines. Again, just kind of made excuses for that. Didn't really know what was going on April 21st, I had showered, got out of the shower, like brushing my hair, and all of a sudden I started to feel like my heart, it started to see like black, and then like everything just started to disappear. I was like grabbed onto the counter. Next thing you know, like I hit the back of my head on the door frame in the bathroom. I just heard my mom like, "What was that?" And I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna act like nothing's wrong because she's gonna freak out." And I have work tomorrow. I have school. And I remember thinking, "There's like a meeting at work, and I can't miss this." Don't know why that's what I was worried about at the time, but that's what I was worried about. I remember laying on the floor. It was like 40 minutes of just shock. Like I wasn't sure what had happened. So like after what seemed like forever, I got up, go to the hospital. They initially think I had a heart attack. That was the first thing that they thought, which is scary because at the time I was 25 years old. So a 25-year-old having a heart attack, what? They ran tests, and I remember them saying that like I was fine. The doctor came in and felt my head, and she was like, "You have a goose egg on your head." Like fell backwards and hit the door frame, but they sent me home. And that was really it. I think I had like a week and a half or something off of work. After that, I would say things slowly started to get like worse. Every time I would stand up, my heart rate would go from 90 to like 150, like that. And my biggest issue was having to try to prove that to doctors. I felt like I was going insane. Every time I'd go to the doctor, I was being gaslit. We were going to neurologists, we were going to heart doctors, and getting in was hard enough, but getting them to believe me was even harder. I had doctors tell me, like, "You're just stressed out. It's just migraine." I even had a doctor tell me it was, "You're just having anxiety, sweetheart." I have anxiety, yes. This is not anxiety. So the gaslighting was super hard to deal with, and I remember just crying and crying, like, am I going crazy? Like, what is happening to me? I just wanted to be able to walk at graduation, and whatever happened after, like, we'll deal with it. And thank the Lord that we were able to get through graduation and were able to get me across that stage. I'll forever be proud of myself for that because that was the toughest thing I've ever had to do, was get through that last month of school and walk across that stage. And we'll clip a video of me walking across the stage.
Moreno.
Hardest was still yet to come, and I still had work, I still had responsibilities. By July, it had gotten really bad. At this point, I was having what they were assuming was like seizure episodes. Still didn't know what was going on. At this point, I started doing research for myself. I assumed it was something that was called POTS syndrome. I started doing all the research I could, advocating for myself, and at this point, I am now referred to Stanford. Stanford it can take a long time to get scheduled into. So autonomic dysfunction clinic, super hard to get into. We were already at a rough start, to say the least. So in July of 24, I had a seizure in the office. Unfortunately, that was the last day I was in the office. That's even still so hard for me to talk about. That job was placed in my life at a moment when I needed it more than I realized. And even though I was scared to say yes and take the opportunity because I thought it wasn't good enough, it was an honor to work there. So if you're watching this and you worked with me there or anything, I'm super thankful. By August, I was on disability. I was in a wheelchair. After that episode, I couldn't really walk anymore. We get the approval for Stanford, thank the Lord. They approved me to be seen at the autonomic clinic so that I could be tested for POTS. They put me on a table and trigger symptoms so that we can trigger a seizure, like so that we can actually get it recorded. And that day that we did the test was successful. We were able to provoke a episode of me passing out, essentially, which was very scary. Don't get me wrong. The doctor was a little nervous. However, it was exactly what we needed for a diagnosis. I was able to be diagnosed right then and there with a severe case of POTS. That in itself was so affirming because I wasn't crazy anymore. And what I was saying was true. The doctors just weren't taking the time to listen to me. I felt like all this advocating I had done for myself, all this research, it wasn't a waste of time. Like, that was like a win, a victory, right? A small one, but a win. There was also a diagnosis of lupus along with the POTS, become an Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis. It also again affirmed I wasn't crazy. There was actual reasons why I was feeling the way I was. We still needed to come up with a treatment. And I think that that was the hardest part for me because I had a diagnosis. Even though I felt like I got the affirmation that, hey, you're not crazy, mentally, I was at the lowest that I could have ever been. I did a really good job at hiding. If you saw me, I always had the smile no matter what. Like, I couldn't walk. You saw me in a wheelchair. I was smiling, laughing, joking. That's just who I am. That's how I've always been, right? Faced with adversity, I'll always find a reason to smile. But sometimes internally, I'm struggling and I don't want people to know that and or see that. I had lost a lot of weight at the time. I was about 90 pounds. So I wasn't feeling the most secure in my own body. It wasn't working. I wasn't walking. I felt like I looked in the mirror and who was that girl that was looking back at me? I didn't recognize her. This girl who was independent on top of the world a few months ago. Where did she go? So I was feeling really lost. And by the time Christmas came around in 2024, I was pretty empty and I was really struggling. And then the new year came and I had hope, things were going to get better. As soon as we seen Stanford, we had an appointment in the spring. Our appointments were still pretty far apart just because we're still initially getting care set up and how it was going at the time. So we're at the Lent season last year, right? And it's around the same time that my initial neurology appointment was going to be coming up. We're going to be coming up with a treatment plan and let's get this under control finally, right? I remember just thinking, well, I don't really have much to give up. I can't give up food because I need it. I wasn't weighing much at the time. I just remember thinking, well, if I can't give something up, I just add something in. But what? I didn't know yet. Prayer was huge for me at the time. I feel like talking to God was the one thing that I was doing a lot, especially when I felt lonely. I feel like nobody understood what I was going through. And I feel like I just kept asking him why. Why me? After everything I've been through, like, why? There was a point where I felt like he wasn't listening. So I started thinking, well, I'm just going to pray the rosary every single day. Because maybe if I pray that, like, with the intention of, I'll pray the rosary and then I'll talk to him. And then maybe he'll listen to my prayers. And will visit the church that Sanford has a cathedral before my appointment, and we'll just see where it goes. And I visited the cathedral before my appointment at Sanford. I had my Bible with me, I had my rosary with me, and I just begged. And I remember just like giving it all to him. I was scared. I was on my hands and knees in the front of this cathedral and I was crying. Please just let me walk again because I can't do this. I just want my life back. I just, like, I would do anything. And I just had this overwhelming sense of like, even if I didn't walk again, it was going to be fine. This appointment was going to be fine. No matter how long it took, it was going to be fine. I remember it was a really long appointment and we waited, and the doctor who gave me the tilt table test, the main doctor of the whole clinic, he came in and we talked, and we came up with a plan, and we talked about the pods, and I left feeling like, hey, we have a solid plan for once. They finally listened to me. And every day moving forward, I started praying the rosary. They wanted me to start slowly working out. Working out, I would pray the rosary. I would tune out the whole world. I isolated for a while and I didn't talk to many people. You might call it crazy, and I didn't know where else to turn to, and I just turned to my faith and tried to grow that so much deeper. And each day I felt like I got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. The next appointment, I didn't use a wheelchair walking in. Literally walked in, the medication and the treatment plan, and everything slowly started working. I am pretty confident to say that I don't think, without the faith that I had and without getting on my hands and knees that day in that church, without praying the rosary every single day, without having faith that like he heard my prayers that day, that I would be walking again. And I'm so thankful. Something happened in that church that day that transformed my faith in a way, deepened and solidified it to a point that it changed who I was, and it's made me look at the world so differently. It made me look at that whole situation differently. Before it was, why is this happening to me? To, that happened to me because I needed to deepen my faith, because I was supposed to learn something from what was happening. And I still think that I'm learning stuff from what happened to me. I don't think I've learned everything, but I do think that my story is meant to help people. My testimony will help someone someday. I think that I'm still healing from what I went through with the domestic violence, and the lupus presented itself because I never dealt with what I went through. But I do know that no matter what I do go through or what I have went through, I can always rely on my faith. I can always rely on God. He will always be there. And I know this episode was so serious. It's the end of the Lent season, and this is my story, and this is what happened to me. And this Lent season obviously looks so different for me, and it's obviously so much better. I'm walking, I'm working. I'm so happy to be here today and to be able to share this story with you.